Hey everybody, watch this review here with a long rambling tirade response, video response that is, to the first great debate, the mold versus figure thing. Now, quick disclaimer, I'm not a big DC fan in terms of just their action figures and stuff. I guess in some instances that might play central to the whole debate, whereas I don't really collect them. Now, I'm not sure why I don't collect them, because I do like a number of DC figures, but overall I've always thought that DC is like kind of bland compared to Marvel, if that makes any sense. I know I'm probably offending some DC fans out there, but a lot of their characters always seemed like a little one-dimensional to me and so forth. I mean, the only superhero I really liked was Batman, and I of course loved his rogues gallery, just like Spider-Man's probably my favorite Marvel character, because he also has one of the more diverse rogues galleries, but you know, I digress here. Now, up for inspection is a Superman I bought in a bundle. I think it's the same one that Toy Spot has when he's doing his review, so you've got like a one-to-one look. Now, overall, I'm actually in favor of similar looking sculpts and articulation, just because there's a certain amount of articulation that we've really come to expect from our figures. And when we don't see that, it just really disappoints us. Like, for instance, there are a few different versions of Spider-Man 2099 floating out there. Now, this might not be the best looking version, but I got it because with agile characters, I expect an ab joint, a diaphragm joint here, you know? If it doesn't have a diaphragm joint, I probably just wouldn't buy it, which is why I didn't get the other one, the Origins one, which I actually like the costume a bit better. Especially because it's got these hokey fingers. I don't know why he has this, because I don't remember Miguel O'Hara ever using that to activate his spinnerets. But I mean, cause I always thought he had more of a clenching motion like this, but I mean, that's just off the top of my head. Miguel O'Hara was the Spider-Man 2099, the one I just showed. That's I think it was a Marvel Legends, I don't remember. I know it was a KB exclusive, but I don't know, just in terms of the general sculpting laziness, as some might call it. Here's a look at the Green Lantern, which I assume probably is also from the Classics line, just from the general build and the amount of articulation. Now, I'm also not a huge Green Lantern fan, so... But I mean, I like the fact that they recycle parts of the body sculpt, and you know what you're getting when you open the box, or when you find it on eBay or something, when you physically can't even look at the box. Because honestly, I purchased a lot of my figures way after the fact, because I didn't really get back into figures until relatively recently, so I've made some really blatant mistakes, like buying Wanda over here, which happens to have one of the ugliest female molds I've ever seen. Also, did I not bring it down? Oh shoot. 1 second. Alright, so the video cut out when I was doing the second segment midway through, but I guess it's for the best, because I didn't really like how that one was turning out. But, here's what I had to go upstairs and, well, not upstairs, but I had to go grab. Just another look at another female sculpt. I mean, I'm all for recycling, because there are certain elements, I think, that should be carried forward, and other elements that should be dropped. And plus, you know, I mean, all the companies do recycle to some considerable extent, including variants and repaints, and, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Let me quickly pull out one such example. Just had those 2 seconds ago. What the hell's going on here? Alright, here we go. Here's the White Queen from the Annihilus series, which has an ugly face sculpt, and I'm not that keen on the body sculpt when I look at it, but wham! It was repainted with a different facial sculpt, different paint job into the Black Queen, and for some reason, like, everything about it looks a lot more appealing, despite the fact that the general hip area, I think, was kind of recycled from another figure. I can't remember what it was, but it looks really similar. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm probably just going a little hazy here, but I really like the look of this figure. I mean, overall, I think that there are certain design sensibilities and elements that should be carried forward. I mean, sculpt for one thing, but I mean, it's not just sculpt, it's also how the articulation all plays out. Like the Tigra here is one of the best looking female sculpts because they managed to integrate the articulation without noticeably affecting the sculpt, whereas a lot of these other ones, when they did this crap, they decided to give them like ball shoulders, even more noticeable than this Black Queen over here. But I mean, it's not really realistic for a female figure, perhaps, maybe. Plus it has this ugly neck thing here. I completely hate those. And they really have no place on figures. In general, I don't like seeing exposed joints that much, so that's what really thrills me about this, with how the stuff all fits in. So, I mean, I would expect those same type of slender limbs and legs and so forth on other figures, and of course I'd probably be happy with them as well. I think they did something similar with the Marvel girl from the Brood series, which I keep meaning to buy, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. I mean, the other big consideration is, because there aren't a lot of figures out there that, well, figures for characters out there, a lot of people end up just going out and buying some of these figures to customize it into another character. Like, the Mystique from the Sentinel series will often become a Jubilee. Ditto for the Marvel girl from the Brood series. Just because the Jubilee isn't available and people want a Jubilee, but, I guess that's what you have to do. But although I don't think that necessarily recycling sculpts really brings us more figures, but I mean, if it would, I would happily take it, because it would spare me the time and effort of doing a custom job, because I'm actually pretty terrible at the paints and so forth, and I'm even worse at doing the sculpting. So I mean, I'd rather have something that's professionally designed a little bit poorly than something I designed myself, if that makes any sense to you. But also, the other thing is, I'm not sure if I brought this up or not, but I mean, I've always thought of Mattel as more of a toy company than, say, Toy Biz, which I thought was more in line of collectibles. Because a lot of their stuff, the Mattel stuff, kind of really just reminds me of the things I used to buy when I was younger. Although that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I think this is actually a great design sensibility here, where you have the leg articulation like you used to get on the old figures, but you can also toss it out like this, and it can do all sorts of additional crap. Actually, this probably isn't the same one that Toy Spot uses, because this one stands kind of cross-legged, and his can stand straight. Well, it might just be the way it might have just been busted that way. But I mean, I actually don't have anything against the Mattel figures or DC in general. I just pick, I'm really selective about which ones I end up buying, like this Mongol here, because I like Mongol the character. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name, but I'm pronouncing it that way because I haven't heard it pronounced to the best of my knowledge. But it's just my general thoughts on the subject. I mean, new sculpts are nice, sure. It's great to have uniques, but I mean, right now they do, I mean, even Toy Biz, Hasbro, everybody's been recycling for a long time, not to the same extent that Toy Spot pointed out, obviously, but you'll typically see the same hips, same legs, and the same parts just being reused and so forth. And with a minor tweak here and there, you can't really tell so much. And a lot of that possibly also ties in the fact that there's only so much you can do with human anatomy, and there's only so much you can do with getting articulation in there. So actually, yeah, they did use the same arm thing on the thing here that I was talking about on the Tigra, but they do have a slightly larger shoulder because they didn't, although because the cape conceals, the cloak conceals part of it, you don't really notice the really visible bald shoulders, and I think that the bald shoulders might even accentuate the overall figure there, but it's just my two random, actually probably like 10 or 15 cents by this point of just random information, take it as you will.